Imagine waking up with no walls to protect you, no weapons in your hand, and knowing that every sound in the distance could be the last thing you ever hear. This was the reality for our earliest ancestors in the untamed heart of Africa. A land where the night didn't just fall, it hunted. Lions twice the size of today's, hyenas that could crush bone with a single bite. Large snakes visiting you while you sleep. These snakes were so large, they could swallow a whole family in a single meal. Caves were homes as well as battlegrounds. We picture snakes today as dangerous but avoidable, something you could simply step around. But in prehistoric Africa, some were nothing short of monsters. Pythons stretching over 6 meters, thick as a man's torso, with the strength to crush bone and the patience to wait for hours without moving. To these giants, humans were not off-limits prey. They were on the menu. When it struck, it was instant and absolute. The victim's tribe would rush with fire, spears and stones, but a snake of that size could vanish into the undergrowth, dragging its prize silently into the dark, and the most vulnerable paid the highest price. Infants too small to fight, pregnant mothers, slowed and unable to flee, the injured and the elderly, who could not run as fast as the others. To a predator that killed by constriction and swallowed whole, these were easy, energy-rich targets. Once taken, they were gone, swallowed in a single horrifying piece, leaving behind only silence and the terrible knowledge that the jungle itself had taken another life. The jungle and the savanna were not scenic backdrops, they were battlegrounds. Food was never guaranteed. A meal meant risking everything, stalking prey that could turn and kill you in seconds. A wrong move meant days without eating, and in this world, days without eating often ended in death. Even the plants you found could heal you or poison you, and there was no one to tell you which was which. Every breath was survival, every step was a gamble. Yet somehow, these fragile, flesh and bone creatures not only survived, they learned. They sharpened stones into blades. They turned sticks into spears. They tracked animals for days without water. They read the wind, the soil and the silence. They carved a way of life out of a world that seemed determined to erase them. But here's the question. Could you have survived here? Could you hunt without weapons? Could you fight a predator with nothing but your hands and your mind? Could you keep your fire alive when the rain doesn't stop for weeks? Today, we're peeling back millions of years to see exactly how they did it and what their story says about us now. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, would you have been a survivor or prey? Like this video, subscribe, and let's step into the jungle together. The African dawn was never gentle. It didn't rise with soft colors and quiet birdsong the way modern postcards might suggest. It bled into the horizon like a warning, the shadows of night retreating only because something worse was coming. In that pale light, every movement in the grass was suspect. The air was thick with scents, blood from a kill made hours earlier. The damp musk of predators still lingering nearby, the faint sweetness of flowering plants that meant nothing to a hungry stomach. For early humans, this was not the start of a peaceful day. It was the first checkpoint in a daily test for survival. They woke not to alarms or schedules, but to the knowledge that somewhere beyond the tree line, something faster, stronger, and far more lethal than them was also awake. And unlike humans, predators didn't wake to uncertainty, they woke to hunt. In this world, the concept of safety barely existed. A lion twice the size of anything alive today could cross the open plain in seconds. Hyenas with jaws that could crack through a thigh bone saw no difference between a zebra and a lone human. Crocodiles waited with prehistoric patience, their eyes just above the surface of rivers and watering holes where humans had no choice but to drink. Even the smaller threats, the venom of a puff adder coiled in the shade, the sting of a swarm of African killer bees were enough to end a life. The line between predator and prey was not drawn by species, it was drawn by opportunity. The moment you hesitated, the moment you lost focus, you became the hunted. We often imagine our ancestors as helpless victims in this dangerous theater, but they were neither helpless nor ignorant. They knew their weaknesses all too well. No claws to slash with, no teeth to tear, no thick hide to absorb and attack. Their bodies were slow compared to the predators they faced, their senses dull by comparison. But it was precisely this awareness that kept them alive. They understood, in a way most modern humans have forgotten, that survival was not about winning in a single fight. It was about avoiding the fight altogether until you had the advantage. They became masters of reading the land, knowing that the subtle change in bird calls could mean a predator was passing nearby, that the sudden silence of insects was a silent alarm. They learned to move when the wind was in their favor, carrying their scent away from danger, and to freeze entirely when the brush ahead moved in ways that didn't match the rhythm of the breeze. Yet no matter how skilled they became, there were moments when confrontation was inevitable. And in those moments, survival meant making choices so quickly and decisively that hesitation itself became fatal. A leopard in the night did not give warnings. It struck from above, descending from branches with the precision of a falling blade. A crocodile did not charge. It erupted from the water without a sound, until the jaws were already around you. The only defense in these moments was anticipation, an almost supernatural sense of timing, honed by generations who had seen death come for their own, and learned exactly what to look for. To live in this world was to carry the knowledge that every second was borrowed, and every breath a temporary victory. The danger was not only in the predators themselves but in the environment that fed them. The African landscape of millions of years ago was not uniform. It shifted between open savannas, dense forests, and treacherous wetlands. Each terrain came with its own set of rules. In the open plains you could see danger coming from far away, but so could danger see you. In the jungle, sight was useless. Your ears and nose became your lifeline. In the wetlands, everything under the surface was a threat you couldn't see until it was too late, and humans were forced to navigate all of it, often in a single day, moving in search of food, water, or shelter. In this dangerous equation, numbers mattered. Humans survived in small groups not out of choice but necessity. Alone, a person was nothing more than meat waiting to be claimed. Together, a group could stand their ground, scare off smaller predators and keep watch in rotating shifts. But numbers also meant responsibility. If a single member of the group made a mistake, it could cost everyone their lives. A scream at the wrong moment could draw predators from miles away. A poorly hidden food source could become a beacon for scavengers. Trust was not optional. It was the thread that held the group together, and breaking it was as dangerous as facing a lion barehanded. The psychological toll of living in this constant tension was immense, though they would not have described it in those terms. Fear was a constant companion, but it was never allowed to paralyze. It sharpened their senses, made them calculate the angle of escape before they even took a step, and kept them aware of the nearest climbable tree or defensible cave at all times. The fear wasn't a flaw, it was a tool. And perhaps the greatest survival skill our ancestors developed was learning to act not despite fear, but because of it. The moment fear became overwhelming was the moment it became dead. But here lies the paradox that made humans different from every other creature in this world. They were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most physically equipped predator. Yet in their vulnerability, they carried a unique advantage: adaptability. Every close call became a lesson. Every loss was a data point. Over time they turned these encounters into strategies, shaping not only their behavior, but their very evolution. The hand that once only grasped fruit began to grip stones with purpose. The mind that once only sought shelter began to design it. The eyes that once scanned for danger began to anticipate it. These were not accidents of nature. They were the result of living every day on the edge of extinction. If you had stood there among them, in that fragile space between life and death, you would have felt it too. That hum in the air, that knowledge that every moment was both gift and gamble. It was not a world that allowed for hesitation or second chance. It demanded awareness so complete that you could feel danger before you could name it. And for those who survived, it offered no comfort, only the chance to wake up and face it again tomorrow. This was life at its rawest, stripped of every illusion. No locked doors, no fences, no guarantee, only the constant truth that somewhere in the grass, or the shadows, or beneath the water, something was watching you, deciding whether today would be your last. And perhaps the greatest testament to our ancestors' strength, is that in a world designed to erase them, they outlasted the lions, they outthought the crocodiles, they adapted faster than the dangers could destroy them. And because they did, you are here, breathing, listening, alive in a world where those predators have mostly retreated into history, but the blood in your veins still remembers what it took to survive them.